What's up, guys? You could be right here, and I'm back with another video, guys. And today we're talking about Arrow Season 5, Episode 17, Kapiushon. So, that might not be the correct way to say it, but, you know, it's the best I can do. So, Arrow Season 5 has been a really great season so far, guys. I'm really loving it. The darker tones from Season 1 and 2 and parts of 3 are really coming back here. And you know what? That's awesome, because Dark Oliver Queen, Dark Arrow, Dark Archer, which is awesome stuff. So throughout the season, the main villain so far has been Prometheus, but last episode we learned that Talia al Ghul might be the real villain, and we might be getting Dark Knight Rises here, where Bane equals Prometheus and Talia al Ghul equals Talia al Ghul. So yeah, do I think that's happening? Most likely. But a lot of stuff in this episode, maybe other. So this episode, guys, at the end of the last episode, Oliver gets captured by Team Prometheus, is what we're just going to call them now. And basically, we know that he's getting tortured this episode. And it's a lot of like a heart mentally breaking more than just physical torture. Obviously, Oliver does get attacked by Adrian Chase a lot in this episode. But yeah, guys, this episode is freaking fantastic. Before I get into the actual breakdown of the episode, guys, hope you guys are enjoying Arrow Season 5 as much as I am, because this season is freaking awesome. It's up there for my favorite season now, battling it out with Season 1 and 2. This episode was awesome. And not only did this episode have another great episode in the present day, the flashbacks were on point, guys. So, briefly, let's talk about flashbacks. Season 1 flashbacks were really cool. Season 2 flashbacks were awesome, guys. It was almost as good as the actual season. Flashbacks were great. Then we left the island, and it was like, Season 3, it was okay. I don't know. It fit into the plot a little bit. We got introduced to a couple characters, but it was alright. We wanted the normal plot, though. Season 4, the flashbacks, we were back on the island, but it didn't feel the same. The island felt more of, like, just a location than Oliver's hell, or, like, prison, kind of. And you know what? I didn't really like the characters, but it set up Season 5's flashbacks, where Oliver's going to Russia to get revenge for Tiana, who is the girl that he was with on the island, get revenge against Konstantin Kovar. And Season 5 flashback started off super strong for me. I really liked how they were short, quick, really tying in with the episodes. And then they got a little stale, and then we met Talia al Ghul, and we got the hood in Russia, and it was really cool and awesome. And Oliver's doing, and then it got a little slow, and now it's freaking back, guys. This is my favorite flashback episode of Season 5. It's better than any flashback in Season 4, and it's up there with Season 2, guys. Again, with the flashback. So, kudos to team, producers of Arrow and the writers of Arrow for the flashbacks. They're back. Kind of tying in there with the flashbacks. So, yeah, guys, this might be one of my favorite Flash episodes ever, guys. I'm just putting it out there. I love this episode. I was on the edge of my seat. While we didn't have one of the bigger reveals, like, we didn't get a reveal, like a character reveal or anything. It was just tension-filled. The dialogue was fantastic. The action was done so well, guys. So good. But just let's just get into this, guys. So, a couple of my favorite episodes so far were the pilot. I really liked the Season 1 finale Sacrifice. Deathstroke was a really good episode in Season 2. The Promise, the Unthinkable, the Season 2 finale. This year, the crossover was freaking awesome, emotionally felt. And episodes like What We Leave Behind were freaking fantastic, which was the mid-season finale, which is probably my favorite episode besides this season. So, yeah, I love this episode, guys. I love the scenes between Adrian and Oliver. The dialogue back and forth was just fantastic. Adrian trying to break Oliver, reminding him of his past. We got a reference to the Count from Season 1 and 2 when Oliver put 3 arrows in to save Felicity. He gets those 3 arrows right there from Adrian. Adrian's just like, 1, 2, 3. You know, it was brutal, but it was awesome, guys. Also, guys, we got a tortured Oliver. We got a broken Oliver. We're usually able to see Oliver stay pretty calm. Last episode, obviously, we saw him lose it and destroy the Arrow Cave. But, you know, it was that. But Oliver hit his breaking point in this episode. Even in Season 4, when everything was destroyed, cities, Laurel was gone, Damien Dark was about to ruin everything, Oliver kept it under control and was able to beat him. Now, did Oliver kind of get upset and angry and pissed in Season 4? Yes, he did, but not like this. This is a psychological battle between Prometheus and the Green Arrow, and I loved it. Also, guys, the characters in the episode worked really well. We got to see the return of Artemis, and now this is questionable for me. Now, this is under my positives because she kind of fell off the map, and I was glad to see that she's still around, I guess, if you want to say that. And they just didn't really write her character off or kind of introduce her back in a weird way where she's like basically going to do the thing what they did in Supergirl with Jeremiah Danvers. I'm glad they didn't do that, and they actually introduced her back here. And she's a broken character as well in this episode, and it really works. Like, I think her character being like, she got basically, we were led to believe that she betrayed Team Arrow. But since she was a part of all of her life, she's got to go anyway. Just like everybody, like Billy and everybody else. Susan and everything. So we'll talk about her a little bit later. In the flashbacks, Ishmael Gregor, who is like the leader of like everything there and the one making the deals with Kovar and everything. He after he dies in the beginning of the episode, we got a lot of Kovar, and he was awesome. And know who else was in the episode, guys? Malcolm Merlyn. Malcolm was back on Arrow, guys. First time we actually saw the real Malcolm. Obviously, we saw him in the crossover, but that wasn't the real Malcolm. So, Malcolm was on 3 shows this week. He was on The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. So, shout out to John Burman putting in the work on the CW shows. Now, Kovar was like the villain of the episode, the villain in the flashbacks. We always knew he was going to be the main villain for this season in the flashbacks and everything. But there was a couple great fight scenes between Oliver and Kovar, which were awesome. The ending fight scene where we're led to believe Oliver kills Kovar was fantastic. The way they filmed it with the one-shots and the way the camera moved around the room and Oliver and everything. And one of the bigger parts of this episode is Oliver dealing with his inner demons, if you want to say, or just like inner self. And it totally confronts Oliver a couple times because Oliver is like hardcore Oliver, like dark. Like, we're talking about season 1 on steroids here. Oliver's killing people. He doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Like, he's torturing people. He's like, I was just practicing. The guy gave me what it is. I should have let him go, but no, I practiced on him. What the frick? So, we saw Dark Oliver. And season 5 Oliver, which is our current day Oliver, he's trying to deal with this. Prometheus is trying to psychologically break him into admitting something that Oliver doesn't know. And when I was watching this episode, I thought he wanted to say Oliver failed the city. But no, that's not what it was. He wanted Oliver to commit that he liked doing what it was. He liked being brutal Oliver. And that season 1, the crusade was all a lie. He just did it so he could go around being dark and brooding and everything. And basically, Prometheus wanted Oliver to admit that he was a killer, basically, and he did at the end of the episode. It broke Oliver, and basically, Oliver basically disbanded Team Arrow at the end, which we know isn't really going to happen. But according to Oliver, at this point, he's done being a vigilante. He's done. He's broken. He realized that everything, his whole crusade from 1 to the season, from the pilot to this point, has all been based off a lie. And that it was so good. So much to take in, but so good. And I love this episode, guys. Also, Artemis is still on Team Prometheus, which currently right now is Talia al Ghul, Adrian Chase, and Evelyn Sharp. But we do learn at the end of the episode, thanks to Malcolm Merlyn, that Kovar is still alive. So, how can Kovar fit in? I've heard some theories that he is vigilante, which is kind of... Could it happen? Does he have the body shape to play vigilante? Yes, he does, but would it make sense for him just to go around and, like, taking out normal criminals? Could he be playing another long con on Oliver, just like Adrian Chase was? Very possibly. But if you really want, he knew Oliver Queen. He would go right after Oliver Queen. I doubt somebody like him would just take their time like this and be like a vigilante and go after like that. Like, to me, it just doesn't really make sense. I don't think he is vigilante, but I do think he's coming back in present day. Wouldn't really make sense for him to come back in the flashbacks. But guys, the flashbacks in Russia is basically wrapped up. So that's what we think. So, at the end of the episode, Oliver leaves, he gets his hood, and we're led to believe he's going to go back to the island, and we're going to pick up from where we found him on the beginning of the pilot. So, yeah. I only have one negative in this episode, and it was kind of Artemis. So, at one point, Oliver said, it became, Oliver, you got to get rid of her, she got to get rid of you. They do nothing, they kind of fight a little bit, but nothing happens, and we're led to believe Adrian kills Artemis as kind of a punishment for Oliver not being who he really is. And I thought that was a really good way to get rid of her character. At this point, she's basically made a deal with the devil, kind of, with Prometheus, basically, and I don't really see her redeeming herself. Yes, now I do believe she might, and if they do have a Young Justice show, will she go on it? Possibly, but at this point, I think you can't really redeem at this point. I thought that would have been a good way. Like, yeah, you sided with the wrong side, basically, and that's kind of what you get in this case with Adrian Chase being so, like, manipulative and everything. I thought that would have worked. But, yeah, she's still back. Will she maybe sacrifice herself to save Oliver at some point, realizing that she made the mistake, or joining back and helping and betraying Team Prometheus? Possibly. But, you know, we have to wait and find out about that. But guys, I'll go on a brief trailer breakdown for the next episode. We do see Bratva versus Prometheus. Oliver obviously telling the Bratva to get rid of Adrian as a favor. Oliver probably had to pay him back by doing something else. Also, we get to see Adrian riding in a limo. He could just be riding in the DA in the limo. But it seems like Adrian might become mayor in this episode, which it would be kind of weird but kind of cool at the same time. He really took everything from Oliver. Oliver at one point in the season states that if he loses this office, he kind of loses everything. Prometheus wins. And we also get to see Diggle versus Oliver, which is cool. They do fight, like, at least once a season. I think last season was the worst because Oliver basically betrayed the team and Diggle's family. And, yeah, I hope it doesn't last too long, and I hope their, like, kind of, like, friendship and their bromance stays on the show. So, it was an awesome episode, guys. I really love this episode. 10 out of 10 for me. Only really the one negative was I didn't think they needed to bring Artemis back. But, yeah, like, I didn't think, like, yeah, basically everything. It was really awesome to see Oliver confront himself and what he really is. Adrian Chase is fantastic. The dialogue in the, shout out to Stephen Amell and Jason Segura for their confrontations, going at each other one-on-one, mano-a-mano. Fantastic, guys. I am so hyped for the end of the season, seeing how characters like Kovar fits in, and seeing how Talia Ghul fits into the mix of everything, and where Felicity will go. That's kind of like the lesser part, but I'm still interested to see what Helix really is and stuff, so I'm really excited, guys. So if you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys really liking Arrow, and you love this episode just like me, remember you guys give it a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.